Hey, how's it going? Welcome back to ThinkView, and this is NK. It's been quite some time, isn't it? And in today's video, I will cover everything that you need to know before buying an Intel Panther Lake laptop. And featured in today's video will be the Intel Core Ultra X7 350HH. From its performance per watt, how it's compared to its rival, how it's stacked up against a previous generation, and how well it handles both productivity and gaming. So if you're planning to buy a new laptop that's powered by the Intel Core Ultra 3 series, especially those with the new integrated graphic card, well, this will be a very useful reference for you. And now, without further ado, let's get started. Let's start our story today and talking about the maximum capability of this CPU. The Intel Core Ultra X7 350HH is slightly more powerful than the i7 14650HX, which, as you guys probably know, is one of the most common CPU in gaming laptop right now. When compared to the Apple M5, the performance is roughly on the same level and is also very close to the AMD Ryzen AI 9 HX370. So overall, in terms of raw performance, this is a very competitive CPU. More importantly, it is clearly much more powerful than the last year Lunar Lake chip like the Intel Core Ultra 7 250AV, which show a pretty big generational jump from Intel this time. But raw performance alone doesn't tell the whole story. What really matters, especially for laptop, is performance per watt. Basically telling how much power does the laptop need to achieve that level of performance, which basically means the power efficiency of that CPU. And to properly test this, we have to limit the chip at multiple power levels, including 15, 28, 35, 45, and 65. And from there, we are able to plot out its performance graph. And honestly, the result is quite interesting. Take a look here. If we compare it to the Core i7 14650HX, the X7 350HH only need about 60% of the power while still delivering slightly better performance. That's a very clear sign that Intel has significantly improved efficiency on this generation. And I have to admit that the Intel 18A really make a noticeably difference compared to the last generation. This probably is one of the biggest improvements we have seen from Intel in a while when it comes to efficiency. Now, if we compare it to the AMD Strix Point, the Ryzen AI 9 HX370, things get even more interesting. AMD has also done a very good job with power efficiency for the last few years, and when you look at the performance per watt curve, these two CPUs are almost identical. They scale in a very similar way across different power levels. However, Intel still have an advantage here, and that comes from their new integrated graphic card, the Intel Arc B390, which we will talk in just a moment. Now, if you compare it to the last generation Lunar Lake, the Intel Core Ultra 7 250AV, just like Intel official claim at the same power level at around 28 watts, the Intel Core Ultra 7 350HH deliver up to 50% higher performance. That's a massive improvement, and it really shows that how much progress Intel has made in just one generation. As for the Apple M4 and M5, it's a bit unfortunate that we cannot manually control the power level as the same way we do with the other chip. However, based on the typical operating range, Apple still holds a slight advantage in efficiency. The M4 usually top at around 25 watts and the M5 is at about 30 watts, and at those levels, Apple Silicon performance is still slightly ahead. So in terms of pure efficiency, Apple is still leading by a small margin. Now, moving on to the part that I think is the most interesting part of the whole test. If you look at the graph, you will see that 35 watts is the sweet spot of this chip, and beyond 35 watts, even if you increase the power further, the performance gain are very minimal and not really worth it. This means that 35 watts is where the chip achieves the best balance between performance and efficiency. And once I discovered this, it's totally changed the way that I use my laptop for gaming. Instead of running it in performance mode, I just leave it in silent mode all the time. And in that mode, the CPU stays at around 35 watts, while the GPU can still run at its maximum power, and the actual FPS difference in game is almost negligible. For example, in Black Myth Wukong, even when I push the system to its maximum performance mode with higher fan speed, the frame rate doesn't really improve that much. So honestly, there's no reason to dealing with extra noise and heat. Running this laptop in silent mode is more than enough. And in this mode, the laptop stays cool, the fans are quiet, and the overall experience feels very similar to using a MacBook. This also explains that when we do the gaming test, even when unplugged, the performance drop isn't that much. That's simply because 35 watt is already the optimal operating point for this chip. And if you want us to do a full review of this laptop, let me know in the comment section down below, okay? Now let's talk about the GPU performance, as this is where Intel pulled ahead from AMD. The Intel Arc B390 is on a different level if you compare it to last generation of integrated GPU, something like the Lunar Lake or even like the Strix Point. And in fact, its performance is somewhat comparable with the RTX 4050 at 65 watts of TDP. For modern AAA games, you can pretty much play comfortably without worrying too much about the performance. In some cases, I even pushed the resolution up to 2.5K with high setting, and the system was still able to handle it just fine. For casual or indie games like Hollow Knight Silksong, I also found a small trick to optimize the battery life. If you cap the refresh rate at 60Hz, the entire system, including both CPU and GPU, only consuming at around 15 watts. And at that level, if you're gaming on a battery, you can easily get around 5 to 6 hours of usage, which is actually very impressive for a laptop of this class. One more important thing to mention is RAM. Since this is an integrated graphic card, it will use your RAM as the VRAM. And it already takes up to 1GB of VRAM just to handle the display alone. So when you're playing games at higher resolution or using technology like XeSS upscaling, the memory usage will increase even more. So that's why, in my opinion, 16 gigs of RAM for this kind of system feel a little bit constrained, especially if you do more heavy work or if you play games seriously. The laptop I have here has a 32 gigs of RAM system, so everything runs buttery smooth. But of course, that also means the laptop price will not gonna be cheap. And I think that this is one of the biggest drawbacks if you want to buy a new Intel laptop in 2026. Because of the situation right now, the memory price is really high. So that all will contribute to the final price of the laptop, especially if you want to have a generous pool of memory to have enough memory for the VRAM. I mean, just look at those laptops with dedicated GPU or even gaming laptop like the TUF A14. It still have a very power-efficient CPU like the HX 370 and an RTX 4060 at the very same price. So that's really sad for Intel because this is one of the best chips for decades, but they got in the worst time ever. And not to mention about Windows from Microsoft. I mean, there's a lot of AI slop right now happening on your Windows system. So in general, this is still one of the best chips that Intel has created for a very long time. But CPU is just part of the story. In order for the whole computer system to work very smoothly, it also needs memories. And with the memory situation right now, I think that solution with this Intel Panther Lake chip is less attractive than those solutions with dedicated GPU. But what is your thought with the new Panther Lake laptop? Let me know in the comment section down below, okay? And what do you want us to test with this laptop? Let me know also. Now, thanks for watching. This is NK from ThinkView, and see you guys next time.